Good evening and welcome to our ordinary council meeting. Tonight is the 19th of May here at the Kalgoorlie Town Hall, and I open tonight's meeting at 7 p.m. On behalf of the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land in which we meet this evening. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. We did have Pastor Joseph Yipwey from Church West down for a prayer tonight. However, we've invited Councillor Lyndon Brownlee in the absence of the pastor to lead us in prayer. If I can get you to stand, please, if you're in the room this evening, as Councillor Brownlee leads us in prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Father God, we just pause at this time to acknowledge you, because without you, Lord, we can't do anything. And Lord, I just pray for your blessing upon our council, the city staff, Lord, those who live and work in Kalgoorlie-Boulder who are present here tonight, Lord, and those who could not make it. Lord, we just seek your wisdom and your guidance as we try to make the right decisions, Lord. But in our frail, feeble, fleshly minds, Lord, it is wisdom that we need from above. So grant that to us, Lord. Pray that you bless our Mayor and our CEO, Lord, as they lead the city, Lord, the council and its staff, Lord, in helping to create a better place for everybody that lives here in Kalgoorlie-Boulder. We want to thank you. In Jesus' name we ask and pray. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Brownlee. And has everyone taken a seat? Thank you. Please note this meeting tonight is being recorded and streamed live on the Council's website in accordance with the City's public participation in Council meeting policy, which can be viewed on our Council website. All reasonable care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the public gallery, it's assumed your consent is given if your image is broadcast. The recommendations contained in this agenda are officers' recommendations only and should not be acted upon until Council has resolved to adopt those recommendations. The resolutions of Council should be confirmed by perusing the minutes of the Council meeting at which these recommendations were considered. And members of the public should also note that they act at their own risk if they enact any resolution prior to receiving official written notification of Council's decision. In attendance tonight, we make our way around to Councillor Winner. Good evening, Councillor Winner. With some lifesavers. Councillor Johnson, hello. Greetings, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Brownlee, thank you for prayer. Good night. Good evening. Not good night just yet. Councillor Turner, welcome. Councillor Viskovich, hello. That's our councillors in attendance this evening around the table. The CEO is with us tonight. Good evening to you, Mr. CEO. Our Director of Advocacy and Strategy is Mia Hicks. Hello, Mia. Our Director of Engineering is Louis Camporelli. Louis, hello. Cass Yeager is our Director of Corporate and Commercial. Hello, Cass. Alongside our Director of Governance and Organisational Strategy in Francis Liston. Hello, Francis. Melissa Murphy is here tonight. Hello, Melissa. Melissa's our Director of City and Community. Our Acting Director of Finance, People and Culture. And we had a lovely company on Saturday night. Casey, good evening to you. Susie's with us tonight, our Coordinator of Governance. Welcome back, Susie. Riley's here tonight as well as our Coordinator of IT. Hello, Riley. Hello, Matthew, who is our IT Cyber Security Analyst, very important role. And also Governance Officer Jamie is with us tonight as well. We have 4 visitors in the gallery tonight, 2 members of the press. No apologies from elected members, and Mr. CEO, there are no apologies from staff, all present and accounted for. There is a leave of absence though for the Deputy Mayor, Kirsty Della, who has got a little while to go on her leave of absence, alongside Councillor Deb Bodica, who also has a leave of absence. Councillor Turner is on a leave of absence but is here tonight. There are some responses to previous public questions taken on notice. One of those from Mr. David Oates. His response is written into the agenda. His question was written into the agenda. The response in relation to his question was previous offtake agreement was with Wingstar Proprietary Limited that passed effluent onto KCGM. Wingstar Investments owned the key infrastructure relating to this supply, including the offtake pumps and delivery lines to the KCGM operation. There was an agreement signed between the City and KCGM in 2016. Also, we had a public question at our special council meeting on the 28th of April from Ms. Susie Williams, who her question is also as part of tonight's agenda. My response, the questions posed by Ms Williams refer to two different matters, and whilst Ms Williams has provided commentary in relation to the matters, these are not matters that the City is able to comment on further. The City has also taken on board all findings from the probity report, noting that there were no findings of illegal or reportable actions, and has requested that the CEO incorporate changes into governance frameworks and council processes where appropriate. In undertaking the probity review, the City was focused on the process to enter into the contract and the level of information provided, and to have an independent assessment completed. It was clear that in the event that anything unlawful was identified through the review, the information would be referred to the relevant authorities. The current council has focused on improvements in governance and decision making and will continue to do so. Item 6, public access. There is no public access tonight, but we do have public question time from Mr Rick House. Mr Rick, or Mr House, if you'd like to come forward to the lectern for us, please. You have 3 questions for us this evening.
Okay, thank you for your time, Council. So my 3 questions, if you don't mind if I read from the questions here. So question 1, and it relates to the Kitchener Road proposed development mining camp. So the first question, Planning Solutions stated at the Development Assessment Panel on the 6th of May that they worked closely with City officers for over a year to identify this site. Yet the Responsible Authority report only documents 2 meetings, so on the June 18 and October 28, 24. And it omits any mention of Northern Star's February 2022 presentation to the Council information session. And that presentation was regarding their 1,000 bed mining camp. So I guess the full question is, can you explain why this claimed year-long collaboration and the 2022 information session presented were not included in the RA? How does this align with your responsibility to ensure a transparent and complete assessment process?
Thank you, Mr House. I'll get you to raise all 3 questions.
No problem.
That's question 1. Question 2?
Question 2, relating to the same item. The officer report lacks justification for waiving the requirement for a needs assessment, not conducting an independent review of the social impact assessment, and supporting a 10-year approval that exceeds state and local planning policy limits by up to 5 years. Can you clarify the rationale for these decisions and confirm whether they were communicated to elected members through regular CEO updates? If not, how do you justify these departures from policy and the lack of transparency with the Council?
Thank you, Mr House. And question 3.
Question number 3, the RA, the Responsible Authority report, justifies approval by citing the applicant's claim that a lack of workforce housing would harm the local economy, but it dismisses community concerns about property values, business viability, and social impacts as irrelevant. Why were the economic impacts on the mining company's project accepted as a valid planning factor, while documented expert assessments of adverse effects on the established local economy were rejected? How do you explain this inconsistency, and does it indicate bias in the assessment process?
Thank you, Mr House, for all 3. We will be taking those on notice for you and providing a response.
Thank you for the opportunity, Council.
Thank you. Councillors, the next item on our agenda is petitions, deputations and presentations, which there are nil. At our agenda briefing last week, councillors, I had no notations of interest. Does that still stand? Councillors, do you have any interests this evening? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, if I may. My apologies for not raising before the meeting. I forgot that I had made a note of it. I just wanted some clarifications on conflict of interest. So how long does a declaration of interest remain one? As in, is there a time limit from when, say, a person or their partner may have previously worked for an applicant before it is no longer deemed a conflict?
Good question, Councillor Winner. Mr CEO?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I would have to actually have a look. You'd have to determine each one on its merits. It wouldn't be a blanket approach. If there was a conflict and it's still perceived to be a conflict, then you'd have to declare it. The value of transactions and so forth would be something to be considered, each one on its merits there.
And no, there's no blanket. And also, the declaration of interest is up to the elected member as well.
That's fair. I was just considering how far back I should be looking more than anything else, but that's fine. Thank you.
Excellent. So no notations of interest, councillors? No, thank you. Let's start again, shall we? Item 9, applications for leave of absence. There are nil. Item 9.2, procedural motion to suspend 9.1 of the Standing Orders Local Law 2013. Councillors, would you like to sit this evening and conduct your meeting when you speak? Do I have a mover for the procedural? Thank you, Councillor Viskovich and Councillor Turner. Councillor Viskovich, you wish to speak? Councillor Turner, I think you have merit if you wish to speak. No? Any dissent, councillors? No, carried 7-0. Item 10, mayoral announcements. Councillors, these have been circulated via Docs on Tap. Can I thank the O'Loughlin family for their donation of war medals to our Goldfields War Museum, which took place on the 23rd of April, just before Anzac Day. Thank you to councillors who attended Anzac services. We met with Development WA for their Kalgoorlie housing market study on the current market conditions here in Kalgoorlie-Boulder, with residential property demand, who is driving housing demand, the role of resource companies in the local housing market, major hurdles that are impacting current and future supply as construction costs and finance, and also future housing requirements. We had a meeting with the Perth Mint regarding the State Battery site. I attended the meeting with the Burt Street traders looking at continuing our assistance and support to Burt Street traders after our footpath program and aligning on when our footpath program would be suitable for Burt Street traders. Can I thank our engineering team for that? Met with Mr Phil Stanley about salmon gums around Gidgee. Very interesting meeting, that one. A lot of research done by Mr Stanley. Met with Susie Williams about the Goldfields Women's Refuge plans. Attended the Seniors Expo. Can I recognise our Oasis staff for their bravery awards as well? There were 6, and to receive those awards alongside 2 medals. A credit to our Oasis staff. Many of our Oasis staff are younger members of our staff, and for them to jump in and respond professionally and also at the same time, without hesitation, save the life of a 3-year-old boy. So well done to our Goldfields Oasis staff there. Continued with our community strategic plan and a couple of other meetings as Pers noted. I will also talk to you, councillors, or not talk to you, I'll share with you the speaking points for our 2 meetings with ministers that were back-to-back on the 14th and the 15th of May. Sabine Winton is the Minister for Education, Early Childhood, Preventative Health and Wheatbelt. We shared with the Minister that we have an estimated 550 approved places for childcare here in the city. That comprises of 15 daycare centres, 3 family daycare centres, and also 8 long daycare centres. We also have some other centres that are not far from coming online at the moment. We spoke to the Minister about how the recent funding through the Department of Communities, the attraction and retention packages have impacted us significantly here in the city, and also with other shires as well around our precinct. As the Minister of Preventative Health, we spoke about, and to the CEO's credit, the strong report that was put forward that the city has created themselves and has driven themselves, where the report emphasises on locally led solutions, in particular around mental health, homelessness, alcohol and drugs, and also highlighted our public health plan, the first that we have completed, which was adopted back in 2023, and spoke about our ALGA motion regarding a change to the modified Monash model as well. Further to that, we met with the Minister for Health and Mental Health the next day, Meredith Hammett. Spoke to her about what the $1 million state election commitment will be used for. Once the master plan is completed, what would the timeline on construction phases be? Well, we weren't able to get an answer on that. We did raise with the Minister as well, again, the CEO's report, and credit again to the CEO and how that links back into state organisations and also the recommendations as well. We spoke about mental health and homelessness alongside alcohol and other drug treatment services funding as well, and also where we sit at a federal level too. So the Minister was aware of that, obviously a new Minister in the role of health, and there's been some changes in that. We also brought up the possibility of a needle exchange, which is one that is pretty topical at the moment in our CBD, considering the increase that we've seen in needles that have been picked up by our staff. So just wanted to bring you up to speed with that. We were also presented with being a Roadwise Council as well, and continued with some meetings today with the party responsible for due diligence at 101 Brookman Street, who will be presenting to Council in the future. Any questions, councillors? No, thank you. Item 11, confirmation of minutes. Ordinary council meeting on the 22nd of April alongside our special council meeting on the 28th of April. Mr CEO, just confirming we need one resolution to pass to accept both of those. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, it should be two resolutions.
Two resolutions, thank you. Councillors, can I have first of all a resolution to accept the minutes from our 22nd of April meeting? Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Seconder, Councillor O'Donnell. Any discussion, councillors, on those minutes? No? No dissent? Carried 7-0. For the special council meeting on the 28th of April, a mover for that. Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Seconder, Councillor O'Donnell as well. Any discussion? No dissent, councillors? Both minutes have been confirmed as a true record of those meetings. Motions of which previous notice have been given, there are nil. Urgent business approved by the person presiding, there is nil. Item 14, reports of committees. First of all, we have an en bloc to cover just two items tonight, councillors. That is 14.1.3, the Business Improvement Framework, and 14.1.5, the policy review, that they be adopted en bloc. Is there a mover for adopting both of those items? Councillor Viskovich, go ahead. You speak.
Question, that's
Yep.
okay. Just with the policies, I'd wanted to confirm that if a policy if it's passed, are those policies set, or would they have to come back to council to be changed?
Those policies would be adopted as being reviewed as of this point in time, but as any policy can be pulled at any time, tonight's resolution is that Council adopt the following revised policies, noting that minor amendments will be made or have been made prior to our adoption tonight, and also referred the naming of facilities policy to a concept forum at a future date. So we would be taking those as being revised. Do you have a question, Councillor Skivich? Right, okay. Mover for that councillor resolution that 14.1.3 and 14.1.5, that's 14.1.3, 14.1.5, form the en bloc. It's a short one tonight. Thanks, Councillor Winner. Seconded, Councillor Brownlee. Any dissent, councillors? Thank you. Carried 7-0. That 14.1.3 and 14.1.5 be accepted. 14.1.4 is the appointment of a chair for the Strategic and General Purpose Committee. Again, just to realign with, catch up with the Act, the officer or the amended committee recommendation is as presented. Councillors, a mover for that. Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Seconder. Councillor Brownlee. Any discussion? No, no dissent. Carried 7-0. 14.1.1. 14.1.2 is the March 2025 quarterly commercial business reports as presented. They are the Q3 reports for our water, airport, endowment, Goldfields Arts Centre, golf course, Oasis and waste. We have a officer or committee recommendation that is put. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor O'Donnell, thank you. seconder. Councillor Viskovich. Councillor O'Donnell, wish to speak? Councillor Viskovich, wish to speak? Any councillors wish to speak or ask questions on 1412? Councillor 2, 1412. That's got the water in it. You have a question? Go ahead, Councillor. We've pulled it out of the en bloc, so it's...
No, I just meant just the water.
Oh, no, we can't do that.
Okay, that's okay. So.
Oh, we could, but sorry, Councillor Turner.
Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood. So I had a question through the Mayor, and it's probably maybe to the CEO or the relevant officer. And it's in regard to the water report. Going through it when we had our committee meeting, I noted that there was some interesting levels of water in our city storage. So I had a couple of questions that I wanted to ask. I'll ask both of them because they can probably just get, I'll ask both, they could answer. So the first one was, I noted that the levels of water in city storage appear to be at good levels. Can the officer confirm our storage levels at the moment? And my second question was, I noted that the Kalgoorlie-Boulder Race Club does not appear to have received any water from the city recently. Can the officer confirm that the water has been made available but not utilised by KBRC at this stage? And whilst not wanting to speculate, if it has not been utilised, is this possibly a combination of good recent rains, completion of the long-awaited works by KBRC on their own dam storage capacity, which was wonderful that that finally got done, as well as KBRC also now has a new reticulation system in place, because I just want to make sure that we have water available.
I'll put those through to the CEO. Mr. CEO?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. In relation to the current storage levels, Swan Lake 1 is at 100%, Swan Lake 2 100%, Swan Lake 3 99%. Stormwater is at 8.6 metres, Old Boulder at 95%, that's Old Boulder 1, Old Boulder 2 at 95, Old Boulder 3 at 97, Old Boulder 4 at 97%, so virtually everything is full at the moment. In relation to the KBRC, they had an allocation of 11.2 megs over the period, but none of that was taken. Reason unknown, obviously the combination of the factors you've raised, but we haven't had any update from them specifically on factors.
Follow-up question. Microphone, please.
So supplementary, but we've made the water available if they need it.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor. Yes, the water's been available. All they need to do is advise when they want it and we can provide it.
Any further questions, councillors? No, thank you. We have the motion as put by Councillor O'Donnell and Councillor Viskovich after those particular questions. Speaker for, speaker against. No speakers. No dissent, councillors. Carried 7-0. Item 15.1.4 is our corporate performance reporting. We require an absolute majority on this, hence wasn't part of the en bloc. Do we have a mover to accept the committee recommendation? 14.1.4, my apologies. What did I say? 15. Jeez, I'm jumping forward. 14.1.4, corporate performance reporting. Is there a mover for the committee recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Seconder, Councillor Winner. Councillor Viskovich, you wish to speak?
Can I hold my right of reply?
As long as you're not adding any new information, you can.
That's fine.
Thank you. Councillor Winner, you wish to speak? Any dissent, councillors? You do have a right of reply, Councillor Viskovich, but there's nothing to reply. Nothing to add?
Am I able to make a comment?
Technically, no. Under standing orders.
That's fine.
However, you couldn't preempt that. I'll allow it on this occasion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to make a note of the reports, that they are very well put together. Just wanting to know the colour coding, if we could have further clarification on if something was on track, that the colour coding could be potentially a different colour. Am I adding something?
No, that's fine. That's fine. You're asking a question. Yep.
Can I ask that question, please?
You can ask that question. The question is put as opposed to a reply. Mr. CEO, I'm sure you'll take that on notice.
Yes, we will, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. No dissent, councillors. Carried 7-0. 1515 was included as part of the en bloc. 1416, elected member continuing professional development policy and elected member attendance at events policy. I have two councillors down to speak to this one. Do I have a mover for the alternate motion from the committee? Councillor Winner, thank you. Almost lapsing. Councillor Turner. Councillor Winner, moving the motion. Councillor Turner, seconding. Councillor Winner.
Nothing at this point in time. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Turner.
Okay, so I will just briefly speak to this. The elected member continuing professional development policy is actually a very important policy to have. Obviously, we have our compulsory training that we have to attend. However, this provides a lot more clarity on the voluntary professional development training that we have to do, and there's obviously a caretaker mode that's taken into it. I'd just like probably people to pay a little bit more attention to what's going on. Our elected members quite often give up a lot of time to some of our elected members give up a lot of time to make sure that our council functions properly. So this is probably ongoing part and parcel to, I would say, when we're working on our new KPI policy that we're going to be having in the future, and then I suppose later on I'll speak on another item, and they're all linked together. So sometimes people only see what they want to see, and that's all, you know. You maybe look a little bit harder about how hard some of our councillors and especially our mayor and deputy mayor are working at the moment with reduced councillor numbers.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Winner, wish to respond to Councillor Turner?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Turner for her words and completely agree with them. I think it's absolutely critical that policies such as this are put in place to ensure that both this council and councils moving forward have the framework in place to be able to know what's expected, both of council and of the role itself moving forward. I think the alternative motion that's been put forward tonight allows council the opportunity to have a little bit more time working through the policy itself and ensure that it is fit for purpose and that all councillors are comfortable where it lands from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. No dissent for that, councillors, for item 1416. Carried 7-0. The en bloc for item 15. We have 1511, the Statement of Financial Activity, 1512, the Accounts Payable Report, 1522, the supply and delivery of 3 12-tonne tipper trucks with 11 cubed steel rear tipping body, 1542, Dome Structures Policy, and also 1543, the relocation of an approved home business from residents in an outbuilding or shed at lot 232, number 43, Moran Street in Boulder, 6432. Councillors, do you wish to pull any of those? No. That will form your en bloc. Do we have a mover for the en bloc tonight, councillors? Councillor O'Donnell, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Johnson. Thank you very much, councillors. No dissent. Carried 7-0. So that's 1511, 1512, 1522, 1542, 1543. Let's catch up. Item 1513 is our long-term financial plan, 2025 to 2035. Councillors, we have an officer recommendation. Is there a mover? Councillor O'Donnell. Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Seconder. Councillor Turner. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak? Councillor Turner, you wish to speak?
I will speak briefly to this since the mover's not speaking just yet. The long-term financial plan is a very important strategic document that takes a lot of work from our council officers and our council alike when we work for it. It goes over 10 years. It's an evolving document, and if you have a look at some of the figures in it, quite simply, they are eye-watering, and they're ambitious, and I think none of us make any apologies for those, because we have to start to get our city back on track. So that will involve a lot of money, and we'll be knocking on a lot of doors to try and get some support for that. If you have just have a little brief look in there, $94 million on sewage and recycled water renewal and improvements to be partly funded by $58 million in borrowings over 10 years. That is very, very important for our city to grow. And if people think that that's for us to sell water, they are very much misinformed. That's so that our sewerage network can operate. In many other parts of the state, local governments do not operate their recycled water. That is something that we do as a city, and we actually do it very well. But it requires constant upgrades. So to have a look at some of those figures in there, this is something that in the next 10 years, I'm actually, to be excited about sewerage is a little bit odd, and something when I come onto council, I didn't think I'd be excited about sewages and tips, but they're very important to our local government. Then you look at our parks, ovals and sporting facilities renewals. These are just a few things that have been highlighted in the report. If we don't have good facilities here, we can't attract people. I heard recently, last week, I'm sure we all did, about down in Bunbury at Hands Oval, the amount of money that's been spent there and what they're now attracting. And I know my son, that's a media commentator, joked that the Mayor of Bunbury probably wasn't available because he was probably talking to Oasis to have a concert there. So that's how good their facilities are. We need to get our facilities on track like that. So ministers, if you're listening, we'll also be knocking on your doors, because we think the goldfields that generates a lot of wealth deserve some of that as well. So this is a very, very important document, and it's an evolving document that we work with. So this is just one of the parts of council business that other people probably find a little bit boring, but it's how our council operates on a day-to-day basis if we don't have these documents.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Winner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is my intent tonight to support this motion, but I must say that I am not completely settled on this plan. However, the key wording within this item is that endorsement of the long-term financial plan by council does not constitute a commitment or agreement to any other projects or proposals that have not already been approved. While I'm okay with the majority of what is included in the plan, I feel there are a lot of projects missing at this point, which I feel should be considered, and that there are projects listed by officers which need to be more seriously considered by council and require significant reporting and risk analysis prior to advancing. As highlighted by Councillor Turner, I expect this document will continue to evolve and change as priorities and projects do, and because of this, I'll be supporting this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for. Before the mover has the right of reply, I'll just add that this is a planning tool with various different assumptions, so things can change. No doubt many long-term financial plans that were around before 2020 didn't factor in what 2020 would bring to anybody. So there are various different assumptions that are created, and if the Mayor of Bunbury wants to bring in Oasis, I'm happy to bring in you too when we update our facilities. The mover has the right of reply.
Just like to thank...
So you're not the mover, Councillor Turner.
Oh.
Councillor O'Donnell was the mover. With that, I'll put the vote. Those in favour of the long-term financial plan, 1513, please raise your hand. Carried 7-0. Item 1514, Salary and Allowances Tribunal Determination for 2025-26. I believe we have an alternate recommendation, or an alternate motion. Councillor Turner, you wish to put your motion? What's your motion?
So I would like to add to the original motion a point 2, that we request the CEO to prepare a submission for the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal to consider alternative options for the payment of allowances to elected members, which I will, if the motion gets up, I'll speak to that later of my reasoning.
Sure, thank you. You need a seconder for that, though. Is there a seconder to Councillor Turner? Councillor Viskovich. Councillor Turner, you can speak to your motion.
So I've been torn on this. My initial instinct would have just been to say, look, let's not, it's even though it's we've been asked to note the outcomes of the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal, it probably would have been to move that we didn't have a 3.5% increase. Because council allowances are always a contentious subject within the community, with the perception that councils determined these, but like tonight, we're actually asked to note the outcomes of the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal review, which was quite comprehensive. So the SAT does this, and then they tell us basically how councillors should be paid. The fact remains that for some that put their hand up to serve on council, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time and a lot more than they would have ever possibly expected. Councillors, new councillors are quite often told, oh, it's a few hours a week and you've got to attend an ordinary council meeting once a month. As all of us sitting around the table know, that is not the case. Under the Local Government Act, the actual requirement of a councillor is unbelievably that they only attend the regular OCM, and in most cases that is once a month. And they cannot be removed as a councillor unless they miss 3 OCMs over a 3-month period without either a leave of absence or an apology that they can simply submit just before the meeting. So that's what incoming councillors are told. That's all you have to do. It doesn't, quite simply, that's just not the case. I know that for some of our incoming councillors, the amount of pull on their time that they've been expected has been eye-opening for them. Previously, we had a council that had 12 councillors. Under the local government review that happened, our council was reduced from 12 to 8. Now, some might have thought we had too many councillors, some might have thought we didn't have enough, but to drop from 12 to 8 has created a huge workload for people to cover, because at the end of the day, councillors have a life outside of council. Every councillor here has a job that they have to do to provide for their family. So councillor allowances are not created equally, because quite simply, for some councillors to put in a lot more work so that they can fulfil committee duties, which are not allowed for under the Act. They're committed to many hours of work over a week, and all over the state this happens. It also must be noted that our council now has the same amount of councillors that they do for a local government the size of Menzies, that just does not have a budget like we have. And there's other councils around. It's a huge amount of work. We have had councillors who have had to dial into meetings at times so that we have a quorum. And under modern technology, I've done that when I've been overseas to ensure that council could actually function, because whilst we have reduced numbers, our quorums have not been always reduced equally. We even had a councillor that once had to pull over on the side of the road while her partner and children were in the car, and get out of the car and dial into a meeting so that we had a committee quorum, which was a very important committee, so that could be filled, because, as I said, some councillors are actually at work during the day. So they reduce their hours so they can fulfil it. And so if you're a part of a committee, you receive no more or no less. And so this needs to be resolved and accounted for so that we can put forward a submission to better look at how we allow for the disparity in hours that councillors may take. In closing, I really wish to acknowledge our mayor here. Now, he's not going to say this, but he actually resigned from not only his full-time employment, but his part-time employment, and he's serving as a full-time mayor. So this, I don't know, but this has probably been a significant cost to his family financially and in time, as he puts in far more than a 38-hour week. He starts quite often earlier than 7 o'clock in the morning. There's a lot of evenings and weekend work. Our deputy mayor also takes significant time away from her business, and it's at some financial cost to her. Several other councillors put in a lot of time away from their employment. And I want incoming councillors, not to scare them off, but we need them to be aware that in a position it's not just turning up to an OCM here and there that makes a council function, especially with only 8 councillors. So I'm hoping if we look at a robust submission that we can fulfil. We are also looking at, Councillor Winner has an excellent motion that we've been working on councillor KPIs, so that whilst under the Local Government Act, it doesn't matter, we'll be accountable to our community. So that all of this can be taken into account, and I'm very much looking forward to the CEO working on a submission that we can put into SAT to better reflect how we do councillor allowances.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Councillor Viskovich, wish to speak to the second? Sorry.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Turner. I feel I have everything echoing in my little speech here, but I do support the officer recommendation and Councillor Turner's alternate motion. However, I would like to make it clear to anyone considering a position as an elected member, this role is far more than a monthly meeting. It takes real commitment, reading agendas, attending briefings and committees, and staying engaged with the community. As Councillor Turner mentioned, some councillors have had to give up or reduce their employment hours to ensure they can fully contribute to this role. That level of dedication should be acknowledged, and it's exactly why we need performance expectations in place. We work as a team, and for that to be effective, we all need to consistently show up and do the work. I'd love to see the future regulations link councillor payments directly to attendance and contributions. Until then, I'm hoping our KPI reporting system will help the community clearly to see who's showing up and who's doing the work. With the election coming up, I think it's important anyone considering running understands the responsibility that comes with it. The community deserves a fully committed council. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I acknowledge the value and what the alternative motion is looking to achieve, I'm simply not supportive of an increase to council salaries at this point in time, much as I have been in the past, as I truly feel essential processes have not yet been completed. While I acknowledge the proposed increase to council allowances has been set and determined by state and not asked for by councillors, this does not mean it needs to be accepted by council at this point in time. I completely understand Councillor Turner's points and rationale behind the alternative motion and agree on many of the items raised. However, salary increases should be demonstrated that they are earned and not simply given with no logical or rational process of assessment and determination offered other than because someone said we could. I cannot stress enough how important it is to review and set councillor KPIs alongside reviewing how salaries are actually paid to councillors to ensure the greatest bang for buck for our community. Reflection is one of the most underused yet powerful tools for success, and we don't have a process or requirement to do this currently. Before any talk of salary increases, I'd like to see a review of how salaries are determined to councillors and have them linked to actual measurable outcomes, like meeting attendance, alongside the commencement of councillor KPIs, which I've raised some time ago. We cannot, in good conscience, look at charging people more than expected. We cannot, in good conscience, look at charging people more and expect more out of those we support in one hand, then in the other hand, take an increase with no quantifiable data behind it. It does not sit right with me, and I feel it's wrong. I hope my fellow councillors consider holding off on any considerations of salary increases until appropriate reviews are completed and processes implemented.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Just to confirm, councillors do not receive a salary, they receive an allowance and also meeting attendance fees, which is what you're directing it towards, just to clarify that. Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor O'Donnell?
Whilst I agree with Councillor Turner and also Councillor Winner's comments, we've also got to be mindful that when it comes to the next election, we might not have people who are employed getting elected onto council. We could have stay-at-home parents, single parents. I'm not saying that, we should get pay rises and that in case. No. They will be out of pocket straight away, trying to get babysitters and things like that. I just think when going forward, we should take that into consideration when we discuss and move forward. It's not just full-time workers that come on council. We could have retirees and, as I said, stay-at-home parents, even somebody who's unemployed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think councillors around the table and also those that may run at the next election, which we're getting very close to in the way of, I would not like to see this as a decision made for those that are incoming and it's in place so they have to fly under that flag. That's probably the first one. But the other one is we have an organisation called the Salary Allowance Tribunal, and it's a determination made by them that fits across everything. And I don't think that we as a council should be getting in there. We should make some suggestions, I do agree, but I don't think we should be in there writing, if you like the word, roughshod over what we believe should be happening here. I think there's probably a lot more work that can be done in the background. Maybe the process of elected members. I have raised this once before, saying that the election onto a council is not governed by your status in the community. It's not governed by your income that you're currently earning, your race, your whatever. It's available to everyone. And I think that's important to note, and hence we do have this salary and allowance tribunal, which I think takes all that, and that's what the state government are there for as well. Maybe it is something that needs to go back to the state government, and further discussion in that field needs to happen. But I don't think that we can go alone. I did ask the question about which other councils are putting something like this up, and there was told some of them, a number of them, that have not seen one of those policies. It has not come back to me. So at this stage I will be voting against.
So, Councillor Johnson, I just need some clarification because it sounds like you're speaking against the motion. So you initiated to speak against the motion, but you spoke for the motion from what I gather for that, because at the moment, note the outcomes of the salary tribunal determination, which you said there, and then point 2 was to request the CEO to prepare a submission to consider the alternative option. So we would be providing a submission and our feedback to the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Point 2.
Yeah, so,
Point 2.
So you're against, just to clarify, you're against.
Clarification of point 2. I'm looking at that as its entirety. It should go through as what the Salary and Allowances Tribunal have put in there. My part is I'm speaking against the point 2 that goes into that, and the officer's recommendation is fine. So I'm speaking against the alternative motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Turner?
Question: would Councillor Johnson prefer that I remove that and we didn't have the alternate motion and we just pass this and then we have a separate motion that we do a submission? Because is it getting confusing? Because he's saying he's supporting the 3.5% increase, but he's not supporting us doing a submission in for a further review of allowances. So I'm confused.
Thank you. That's all right. We're halfway through debate, so we're not changing motions at this point in time. Councillor Johnson, just to clarify, because I was a little bit confused by your argument, that's all.
We'll just see how this one rolls out. I think if there's confusion there, I think the confusion could come from anyone that may want to run for council as well now. I think there could be confusion out of this whole salary and allowance tribunal stuff. I just think I've asked for examples of where this has come through, as in from policies from other councils. I haven't seen one of those yet. I suppose it's when it comes back to the original motion, that's probably where we're going to drill down a little bit more into this and see how we go. And I'm not here to what the word, be challenged on something. It's a debate on a motion.
I was just asking Councillor Johnson if you were for or against, because it sounded like you were speaking, you mentioned in your commentary you're against. Thank you. Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in response to one of the comments made, the Salary and Allowances Tribunal does invite every local government to provide a submission every year. They also ask the Department of Local Government as well as WOLGA. Last year, or in the current submission, 15 submissions were received by individuals into that process. So they do actually take it into consideration.
Councillor Turner.
Okay, so I'm actually happy to withdraw my motion and just my alternate motion and have the original motion stand up. And then,
Councillor Turner, we're already into debate, okay. So if you don't want to support your own motion, then that's fine when that debate comes. Thank you. Speaker for the motion. Speaker against. That's why I needed the clarification. Sorry, Councillor Johnson as well. I need to catch up. I will speak for the alternative recommendation, and I'll speak for it because I know that there is a thirst among you to not adopt it. However, it's a difficult process and a legislative process for us to change anything significant when it comes to salaries and allowances tribunals. Councillor O'Donnell, you mentioned a couple of points about who council could attract in the future. I don't think we need to play in hypotheticals, but the opportunity to represent your community is one that is of honour and also of note within the community. And I think that anyone who does consider it, regardless of where they're from, should obviously put forward their best opportunity. And previously, comments such as those by yourself have been made around the table on those who we do wish to attract to council. We do have a childcare policy which is in place as well to further strengthen those applicants. I don't think we're here to talk about who should be on council and who shouldn't. Councillors, the elected member attendance across the board in the state, judging by recent news articles, does not meet the pub test. Just want to flag that with you. I'll be supporting the alternative motion. Councillor Turner, you have the right of reply.
Okay, so I'm happy to leave their motion there, and I'll speak. So whilst noting Councillor Winner's concerns, the reason I'm not going to, so initially I would have said, look, let's not have an increase. But as Councillor O'Donnell highlighted, it's not a lot of money. And I don't want to deter people from running for council, given if they're serious and they want to be a good councillor and they want to be able to fulfil their role, they need to spend a lot of time as a councillor and they need to be remunerated for it. And it might be somebody that is not in the financial position that some of the councillors are in to be able to do that. So just because some of us can say, look, let's just knock it back because we look great in the community, and I'm not saying anyone's doing that, it's not fair on incoming councillors, I'm going to say, because it's a 3.5% increase is not a lot, and it's just not fair on others. But how it's calculated for the work that some do and some don't is what I'm not happy about, which is why I'd like our CEO to prepare a submission moving into the future, so that maybe it was not clear what I was trying to achieve. It's very easy to vote against something because it's not a lot of money to any of us, but then it doesn't help people coming in, and I do not want to deter anyone that's coming in because of the workload. I want them to be able to be remunerated if they need that money. So I would love to see someone that's perhaps a single mother coming onto council. I think they'd give a great perspective. I'd love to see someone that's an older person that's a retiree. They give us we need different people around the table. I don't want them put off. As I said, our mayor's had to give up his employment to be a mayor and to be able to fill his role. Our deputy mayor takes a lot of time away for her business and her family as well. Some people can afford to do that, some people can't. So that's where I was coming from. Just because I might be able to afford to not take the increase doesn't make it fair that I vote against it. So, and that's why I want the submission done, so that it just, we can put our voice forward and they may pay attention to it.
Thank you. As dissent has been recorded, councillors. Sorry, Councillor Winner, you have a question?
I do, Mr Mayor, if I may. Just through the mayor to the CEO. Mr CEO, if the alternative motion and the officer's recommendation is unsuccessful, what is the impact on the organisation as a whole?
Mr CEO?
Sorry, was that if it's unsuccessful?
Yeah.
If both the alternative and the officer's recommendation were unsuccessful, what would be the impact on the organisation?
Through you, Mr Mayor, the current wording that Council has previously adopted is that Council gets 100% of the salary allowance tribunal determination. That will be factored into the budget. So it will still apply. You'll still get the increase come through from 1 July.
Councillors, I'll put the motion. Those in favour of the alternative recommendation by Councillor Turner, second by Councillor Viskovich, please raise your hand. 5. Those against? 2. The motion is carried. 5-2. Item 15.15, notice of intention to levy differential rates 25-26. Councillors, we have an officer recommendation. Is there a mover of the officer recommendation? Councillor Viskovich, thank you for moving that. Seconder? Councillor Brownlee, thank you for seconding. Councillor Viskovich, you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I will be supporting the officer's recommendation for the increase of the 5.01% increase in total rates revenue. I believe we have a very ambitious long-term plan, and the renewing of ageing and infrastructure within Kalgoorlie, we need to ensure that we are keeping our income in line with the plans that we have coming into fruition. We've kept the increase below the local government cost index, and it's aligned with the long-term financial plan. I look forward to seeing community feedback through the consultation process and continuing to be transparent about how these funds are used. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Councillor Brownlee. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be voting in favour of this item tonight, as I'm okay. Sorry, let me start again. I'm okay with exploring, for the purpose of draft budget development, what would work out to be a residential rate increase of 3.3%, which is only slightly higher than the CPI rate of 2.8%, to ensure that the development budget can advance forward. However, I'm not committing to this figure completely going forward, as this is simply for budget purposes at this point in time. We as a council are very well aware, and has been discussed around the table on numerous occasions, that most people are hurting at the moment with the cost of living pressures and financial instability. And I think we need to continue to explore ways to support our community through this time by keeping our belts tight where we can, keeping any increases as low as possible, and charging those with greater capacity more, while reviewing city expenditure to keep in line with community capabilities, expectations, and community growth. Our community wants to see that if we're investing money into projects and programs, that we are getting great outcomes in delivering these projects, which is very favourable given that the number of projects that we've started to see really come to light, and should be completed this financial year. So I would encourage councillors to support this at this point in time, to allow officers to complete a draft budget for presentation to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Turner.
So I'll also be supporting this motion tonight, noting that basically it's not business as usual, but it is business as usual. We have to actually advertise a notice of intention to levy differential rates. It's part of the process so that we can receive submissions from the community. It's required under the Local Government Act. And I'm hoping that moving forward, that perhaps even though it's been reported in the media of a 5% increase, it's actually a 5% increase in rates revenue yield. So it's not a 5% on our residents, unlike last year where some people did get a higher rate increase. That's purely because their properties were revalued. It's not a revaluation year. So it's at the moment we're looking at a rate increase, as Councillor Winner highlighted, of 3.3% increase, which is slightly above CPI. I'm hoping as we work through our budgets, we may be able to reduce that. But if we don't advertise it as such, we don't have anywhere to move. And like Councillor Viskovich said, over several years, we've got a very ambitious project of what we need to do in our city. And perhaps the rate increase will be lower once it comes back to council. But at the moment, I just would like to highlight that we're looking at a 3.3% increase at the moment. And I know that there's several councillors around the table that if we can work for it to be lower to help our residents, we will certainly be doing it. But we also have to make sure, as Councillor Winner said, that it's in line with families are hurting. But then Councillor Viskovich also pointed out the city has to be able to function as well.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Before the mover has the right of reply, we're not accepting, obviously, 3.3 as an increase tonight. It's been well spoken by councillors. Just to clarify where further increases are put as well from what our staff have been doing in regards to research. The March 2024 to March 2025 annual CPI increase for Perth is 2.8%. Our long-term financial plan forecasts CPI at 3.2% for this particular year. The extra benefit that local government provides into the economy is a local government cost index of 3.6%, so we're below that. And I've been told today that coffins have gone up 3.65%, or so I'm told. So your rates going up 3.3% is less than a coffin, potentially. Coffin, yep. Thank you. Well, we want some comparisons in the market. Thank you very much. It was one that was given to me today. Mover has the right of reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you to my fellow councillors who have also said that they will be supporting. I agree, times are tough with families at the moment, but we do have a lot of infrastructure and very ambitious goals to bring to Kalgoorlie-Boulder. So I think that this increase of 3.3% in the rate of the dollar is what the city of Kalgoorlie-Boulder needs at the moment.
I'll put the motion as put. There's been no dissent. Is there any dissent, councillors? No? Carried 7-0. 5.2, engineering, improved process and community engagement framework for sealed road program delivery. We have an officer recommendation. Is there a mover? Councillor Turner, thank you. Seconder, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Turner, you wish to speak?
Can our Director of Engineering perhaps address and fill in a little bit of the hard work and what he's done here? We have a lot more robust, I'm going to say, plan moving forward, and he's done a huge amount of work here. And roadworks are something that people are always complaining about, that they don't get enough of. When we are doing them, they're complaining because they get disruptive, and then sometimes they blow out and they take a lot longer than planned, and they cost the city a lot of money. And we've got a very ambitious roadworks budget, and there's been a lot of roadworks getting done. So perhaps if the Director has a chance, he could address us, and he can probably fill us in a lot better than anything we can say.
Mr CEO? To the Director to touch on what work has gone on behind the scenes after the council piece. Motion, Mr CEO? No, you don't wish to?
Through you, Mr Mayor, should council wish to hear from the Director, that's fine, but normally you wouldn't during debate.
Thank you. We'll take that. Thank you very much. We'll note that, Councillor Turner, but note the work of the engineering team. Seconder was Councillor O'Donnell. Do you wish to speak, Councillor O'Donnell? Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Winner?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be speaking in favour of this motion tonight and commend Councillor Turner on her words. I think she summed it up wonderfully. This is a very important process for us. There's no big secret. We've gotten a few things wrong in the past, in my opinion, and this is an enormous step in that right direction to show that not only have we listened and learned, but we've taken on a approach to ensure that our engagement models and our tools are going to ensure that moving forward into the future, we don't see the sort of impacts we did previously pop up without alternative measures being considered at the same time. I'd like to commend the staff for the work's done to engage with our community through this process, and a lot of the opportunities which have come out of this will be of great benefit, particularly to Bird Street providers, but it's also going to help all of Kalgoorlie-Boulder as a whole moving forward, as it sets the standard and expectations now moving forward. And this document is available for public as well, so the public will also be able to know that these are the standards that council's expecting, and would ask the community to ensure that they are holding both the city and council to those standards moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Brownlee?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I too will be supporting this recommendation here tonight, and just looking forward to, I guess an improvement in stakeholder risks and just a mitigation of those operational risks as well, and looking forward to some better ways of operating here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brownlee. Speaker against? Speaker for? Before the mover has the right of reply, well done to the staff on taking on board feedback. I know this was a very operational matter for staff to consider, but I think the way forward and presenting that back to council with what improved processes and communications can occur, I think is commendable. Councillor Turner, you have a right of reply.
Okay, so firstly, I'll thank my fellow councillors for their comments. I just want to highlight once again the work that our staff and our directors have put into this. At times, in the lead up to the Christmas period, I'm going to say that some roadworks around the city were very emotive. There was a very emotive time. To have a director that was prepared to take it on the chin and go out there and say we needed to improve our processes was admirable. To take feedback on board. We've had our recent roadworks in O'Connor that I'd like to highlight as well, that in Moscone Circle twice a week we had staff available to speak to residents, and I've also had a lot of feedback from residents on O'Connor Street when they had any problems, that when they contacted the city, that the director actually came out and spoke to them as personally. So, and they put a lot of work into improving our processes because, as Councillor Winner said, we didn't get some things right, and all we can do is take feedback on board and improve it. So I'm looking, and we spend a lot, as I said, we spend a lot of money on our roadwork, so we don't spend the money to get it wrong. We spend the money because we want to get it right and fix things.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. There's no dissent to item 15.2.1. Carried 7-0. Item 15.2.2 was part of the en bloc. 15.3.1, Peppercorn Lease, Kalgoorlie-Boulder branch of Sporting Shooters Association of Australia. We have an officer recommendation. Is there a move of that? Thank you, Councillor Brownlee. Seconder, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Brownlee, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I look forward to the passing of this officer's recommendation by my fellow councillors. I think the branch of the SSAA here in Kalgoorlie-Boulder not only provides a space and an opportunity for those who subscribe to such activities. However, with some of the community benefits as well that are achievable or able to be what's the word I'm looking for? That they support, through law enforcement and other means is a great thing for us to consider when supporting this officer's recommendation. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brownlee. Councillor Johnson, wish to speak? No. Speaker against? Speaker for? Sorry, Councillor Turner, was that a speaker for?
Yep.
Yep.
As highlighted in the agenda briefing that some of us attended last week, this peppercorn lease has been worked on with the council staff and the local branch of the Sporting Shooters Association for some time, as some of the buildings out there weren't compliant. West Australian Police Force also uses this area as a shooting range, so it's very important, and we have 110 active local members currently. The actual land here isn't actually owned by the city. I'd like to highlight that. It's actually state government land that we have a management order over that is then subleased to the association. So I would like to highlight that the association has spent a lot of money, of their own money, getting things up to scratch. They didn't come to the city cap in hand. They did it themselves. So I'd also like to note good on them for taking the initiative on their premises.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to make a comment. When I first came here as a policeman in 1984, our firearm practice, we actually drove into the bush and put posters up on trees. That was our weapons training. We didn't have a home. And so then we gradually got a home, and the SSAA, they were very accommodating, and I've seen all the work they do out there themselves, and it's good to see them back on deck and open for business.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Speaker against? Speaker for? Mover has the right of reply. Councillor Brownlee? No. Councillors, no dissent to this item? No. Carried 7-0. Item 15.4.1 under City and Community is the Golden Quest Discovery Trail Partnership Service Agreement for 25-26. Councillors, we have an officer recommendation. Is there a mover of the officer recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Turner. Seconder, Councillor Winner. Councillor Turner, you wish to speak?
I just want to speak in support of the motion. The Golden Quest Discovery Trail is, as we spoke, this was also spoken at great length at the agenda briefing last week. We asked several questions of it. It's a very small amount of money that we put in as a local government, along with the other Goldfields local governments, for a fantastic way to get around our region and have a look at the history of the region. I note that they are going to be slightly underfunded this year, as the Shire of Coolgardie, due to their issues, will not be renewing their membership to it. So I know that our local government and the other local governments are working with them to make sure that the trail is not underfunded, but have a look at the amount of money that we spend. We get a lot more value back with our tourists and our residents. Hell, our residents should go and have a look at that trail. Don't just treat it as a tourism thing. If you live in Kalgoorlie-Boulder or you live in the goldfields, go and have a look at the trail, because you'll find out stuff that you did not know.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Councillor Winner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A lot of my comments reflected those of Councillor Turner, so I thank her for those that she raised. As a city and as a council, anything we can be doing to help support tourism, we need to continue to do and continue to drive where we can and work with our tourism providers and some great partners to achieve some great benefits, not only for our city, but also for our region as a whole. And this is one of those low-risk projects which deliver, well and truly bang for buck for our community and for our visitors, and as Councillor Turner highlighted, for our residents themselves. So I would encourage councillors to continue to support this project moving forward for the 2025-2026 financial year, and I look forward to even more successes moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for the... Councillor Viskovich, wish to speak for?
Yes, please,
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor. I too will be supporting the officer recommendation to renew the partnership, echoing Councillor Winner and Councillor Turner. It's a low-cost, high-impact way to bring visitors to the region and support our local tourism economy as well. Knowing that one of our fellow councils involved in the trail is facing some financial hardship, I'd also be open to exploring other ways that we can assist further. We know that when the region does well, we all benefit. We've got the history in Kalgoorlie-Boulder, the infrastructure, and so many more stories that are worth telling. So I would like to, see what more we can do to help this build even more tourism to the town of Kalgoorlie-Boulder.
Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Speaker against? Speaker for? Mover has the right of reply.
As both my fellow councillors highlighted, tourism is very important to us, and especially heritage tourism. But what I would like to highlight is when we leave the region and we're somewhere else and people say, "Where are you from?" and you say, "I'm from Kalgoorlie-Boulder," the amount of people that say, "Oh, I know someone that lives there," or "I live there," or "Someone in my family live there," and you encourage them to come back and have a look. And or if you've got family members, encourage them to come and take them on the Golden Quest Discovery Trail and see where 11,500 of our ratepayers' money is being spent in a fantastic way.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. No dissent to that, councillors. Carried 7-0. Item 15.4.2, the dome structures policy was carried under the en bloc. So too was 15.4.3, the relocation of approved home business from residents to outbuilding, lot 232, 43 Moran Street in Boulder 6432. Which leaves us to two items to consider under confidentiality this evening. Can I have a resolution that we move into confidentiality? Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Seconder, Councillor Brownlee. No dissent, councillors? No. Carried 7-0. For those members of the press and also for the gallery, thank you very much for your attendance tonight. We have two items to consider under confidentiality, and we should have a resolve on that hopefully soon. Just get you to leave the chambers for us. Thank you. members. We'll resume our council meeting after two items were discussed under confidentiality this evening, and they were two commercial leases. Which leaves me with the date of the next ordinary council meeting is the 16th of June 2025, and I can close tonight's meeting at 8:18 p.m, thanking our staff and thank you elected members. Good evening.